Right, in this video, I'm gonna take you through a step-by-step process of one of my best transformations that I've done with my client Khalid. Khalid managed to go down from 105 kgs to 75 kgs. But that's not only what this is about. In the past, Khalid struggled with so many things, and the most thing that he struggled with was the fact that he managed to lose the weight really quick, but the only problem was that he never managed to maintain this weight long term. So he used to lose the weight, lose 30 kgs, and regain this weight in no time. And this affected his self confidence and his ability to believe in himself and do this long term. Khalid did not focus on his habits. Instead, he focused initially on things that provide a quick fix. So he used to fall for diets that promise quick results, but never promise to maintain those results long term. And therefore, he ended in a yo yo diet and constantly losing weight and regaining it again. But here is how we managed to work together to lose that weight, but also to completely transform his physique and make sure that he gets in better shape and keeps improving over time and never regain that weight again. So here is a step-by-step process of exactly what we did. Firstly, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of Khalid's transformation. So his starting point, as I mentioned earlier, was that he was at 105 kgs and he was really in a position where he really wanted to make a significant lifestyle change. We went through the three phases of my coaching program. Phase one was the discovery week or the prime phase. So in the discovery week, what I do is I am just observing. I'm collecting data from my clients, making sure that I'm creating a judgment-free space where they can share with me everything that they're doing without me giving any input or changing anything. So I asked Khalid during that week to send me everything he ate. So at the end of each day, whatever he ate, he just sends me a picture of it and then to mention how much steps he got and to mention how much sleep he got and when did he start working or when did he start waking up and doing his day-to-day activities. So in the discovery week, I understand exactly what is the starting point and what are the habits that this person is doing that led to the weight gain in the first place. Because if we approach any transformation by just changing the lifestyle or trying to change immediately by introducing a diet, what will happen is that this person will be overwhelmed and this will lead to them following the plan for a couple of months and then falling off track because their main issues or the main habits that led to them gaining weight were never addressed. So the discovery week is to assess the client and to make sure that they are addressing what is the cause of this weight gain in the first place. After we gather data and we go through the discovery week, we focus on building a sustainable routine and habits without overwhelming him. So I do something called the two birds, one stone method. What exactly is this? One problem that Khalid had was that he used to snack a lot when he's bored. So he used to snack at around 7 or 8 p.m. when he was bored. He wasn't really hungry, but was just a habit of snacking. So what I asked him to do is to schedule a walk during that time. So during that time, he would just go for a walk instead of snacking, listen to something, listen to a podcast, listen to some music, and go for a walk. So, what this did is that it allowed us not only to prevent potentially 600 calories from snacks, but also to, in fact, burn those calories. So, when he goes for a walk, for a 30-minute walk, he would burn around 200 calories and he would prevent or avoid himself from having those 600 calorie snacks. So this alone led to Khalid to start seeing the results that he wanted to see. So we had a good change in the initial 4 to 6 weeks just by following this habit. And this was one habit only that we started with to change. After this, we started introducing a meal plan that's relatable to his discovery week. So whatever food he sent me and whatever structure of meals he sent me, I created a meal plan that's realistic and that he could follow long term. It wasn't a meal plan of chicken and broccoli 6 times a day. In fact, it was a meal plan that included the foods that he likes. So, for example, if he really enjoyed having a chocolate, I would add this chocolate in his plan and he could have it every day. instead of trying to avoid having it and then on the weekend just going all out where he would increase his calories and just fall in the cycle of regaining the weight all over again on the weekend. So by doing this, we managed to see significant changes in the initial 4 to 6 weeks. Next, after that, we went through the building momentum and the accelerated fat loss phase. Basically, in this phase, we increased the intensity of workouts, we refined the nutritional strategies, and the goal here is to see every single week the weight changing on week-to-week basis. With Khalid, we went with a slightly aggressive approach because he was ready, so we aimed for 1 to 1.2% of his body weight fat loss every single week. Phase 3, after achieving the fat loss, we went through a sustain and thrive phase, and in my opinion, this is the most important phase in the program. Many people would stop at the fat loss phase and then they do not have an exit strategy. They do not know how to maintain this weight long term, how to regain that balance between what they were doing in the past and between what they were doing during the diet. Because we do not have to diet all year round. We need to just focus on having a phase of a calorie deficit where we lose that weight, but we don't want to just keep dieting throughout the year. So phase 3 achieved a couple of things. Number one, we had an emphasis on maintaining results with balanced lifestyle habits, reverse diet, which I'll explain a bit later, and focusing on performance instead of weight. So in the prime phase, what we did was the discovery week, identifying habits and behaviors that contributed to his weight gain, initial assessment, and then focusing on one habit at a time. The goal here is to never overwhelm the client. What we try to do is to make sure that we are introducing really small tasks that you are at least 90% sure that you will be able to stick to. This will achieve two things. Number one, it will create change, just as I mentioned about the two birds, one stone method, where I asked Khalid to go for a walk when he felt like he wants to snack. But the second thing is that it will increase your self belief. A lot of times people lack self-belief because they set very unrealistic goals and very big goals that they know that they cannot achieve. So they're here and they just put the goals that are way too high for them. So what we do is we set realistic goals, small habits that you are sure you can change. This is the goal of the prime phase, increasing self-belief and seeing some form of change in terms of the weight or in terms of your health. Now here's where things get very interesting. This is the second phase, which is called the accelerate phase. So the key focus area here is to see every single week changes in terms of body weight and in terms of the pictures. We want to see clear change in the body composition. We want to see clearly fat loss happening, but also muscle maintenance. So here we focus on a couple of things. The key focus areas was daily weight measurement. The reason why I ask for a daily weight measurement is that at the end of the week, we take the average of this week, which represents the average of the whole week and not just the day-to-day changes. So the reason we do this is to get the average of the week, not that we are expecting weight loss every day. In fact, it's very normal for the weight to fluctuate on day-to-day basis, but we want to see at the end of the week the average and then compare it with the next week's average and then compare the weight loss between week 1 and week 2. Activity tracking, like daily steps, were monitored to make sure that we are getting the calorie expenditure that we want. Starting calories were around 2,200. Protein was around 170 grams. His training was 3 to 4 times a week, and we started with minimal cardio, which is 40 minutes of cardio across the week, and 8 to 10,000 steps daily. I'll break down each of them in the next slides. Also, because we don't only focus on fat loss, we focus on health. We monitored his health by monitoring his stress and sleep. So we had to pay close attention to the sleep quality and the sleep quantity that Khalid was getting. Also, we had to make sure that his stress levels are managed because if you're highly stressed, we can't really push the fat loss that fast because when stress levels are high, the body tries its best to avoid more stress, and therefore calorie deficit will be additional stress on the body, more exercise and more cardio will be additional stress on the body. So we want to make sure that we are not having high stress levels. We also made sure that we are tracking his digestion and his hunger because we want to make sure that whatever calories we're consuming, we're making the best out of it. And also hunger levels, we expect it to be slightly elevated during a fat loss phase, but not to the point where you're obsessing over food or always thinking about food. So hunger should be managed as well. So the things we were focusing on was the weight, the steps, the stress levels, the energy levels, the sleep, digestion, and hunger. Now, after Khalid achieved his fat loss and reached his goal, which is from 105 kgs to 75 kgs, we went through the third phase, which is the most important phase. And as you can see, the changes on the body are significant. He looks even better in this phase versus how he looked right here. So if you look at the end result here when he was 75 kgs, really lean, but his muscle mass was not as high. And then what we did is we went through the sustain and thrive phase, which led to him improving his body composition, gaining muscle mass without gaining body fat. And this is the goal of the sustain and thrive phase, to make sure that you are achieving balance again and regaining some body weight, but making sure that it's more muscle mass. So instead of the body fat that you would have gained if you just went into the fat loss phase and then got back to the old habits, instead we focus on building muscle mass. So we went through a phase called reverse dieting. So when Khalid got to 75 kgs, his calories had to go down from 2,200 over time to 1,300. So that's pretty low for him. So the reverse diet is basically increasing the calories gradually and assessing the body weight across the week to make sure that he is gaining weight within the range that we agreed on. So, for example, week one of the reverse diet, we would increase the calories to 1,600 or 1,700 and assess the body weight. If he's still losing some body fat, that means that he's still in a deficit. So we increase the calorie intake by another 200 calories. So now he's at 1,900 calories. And then we keep building up the calories until we see that the weight is stabilizing, but also a slight gain is happening to make sure that we are gaining muscle mass. So we built up the calories from 1,300 up to 3,000 calories during his muscle gain phase. And that was his new maintenance. So now he's not only eating more, but he's looking his best and he's the strongest he's ever been. We also focused on reintroducing some social life because during a fat loss phase, there was some social life, but he would say no more often. Now, when we introduced the reverse dieting and the sustain and thrive phase, what we did is we started having that balance where he can say yes to some events, but also he still has boundaries around food and eating around social life. We also had performance goals, so implementing progressive overload, which is extremely important to build muscle mass. What we did is we had every week we had to increase either the number of repetitions that he does or the weight that he lifts. So that ensures that every week you're getting stronger and stronger, and this is a fundamental thing for basing for and this is a fundamental thing for gaining muscle mass. We set new performance targets to maintain motivation and drive. So sometimes when fat loss ends, we only know that one goal, that's fat loss. But in reality, there are so many goals which will make the training way more fun. So performance goals would be much more fun than just fat loss goals, and that's what we focus on with Khalid.